Welcome to the Artificial Cities podcast, where we will talk about artificial intelligence, technology, policy, sustainability, and so much more. Let's grow one conversation at a time.
I think that one of the important things in this conversation is making sure that we have a connection to humanity as we talk about Web3 and the metaverse, because I think that there's a disassociation that people have,
right?
And in that paradigm of business, conversation, trust, that people are wise to not get right into it. But we're going to get right into this podcast. What's going on, guys? Garrett Livingood here with the Artificial Cities podcast. And today I've got a special guest, longtime friend, Wes Sherwin.
Man.
Wes is doing a lot of things in the space. He's catching some sweet interviews.
Thank you, man.
And he's really covering a lot of material in a way that is entertaining.
Thank you.
So entertaining is hard. I've actually, ever since I started listening to and watch, like, you've launched your channel, I've actually paid attention to who I like, and it's like Russell Brand. I really like him. Like,
dude, he's a goat.
Like Tim Dillon. Like,
now,
like
we're talking now.
The character, ability to entertain while deliver information, and comedy's hard. Comedy's harder now more than ever, potentially ever. I don't know. It might be hard to be funny back in like the 12th century when everyone's dying around you.
Right. Bro, yeah, Tim Dillon's one of my favorites. It's crazy you say that name, dude. I wish that I could be like a quarter as funny as he is. And I'm not a comedian. Like, I don't brand myself that way, but I think there's a level of...
You're intelligent enough to play on a figurative plane with people.
Well, man, like, anytime you're making content or you're like in front of a camera, authenticity is the first most important thing. Mm-hmm. But like also being entertaining. And so you just, I think a lot of people have it wrong where they exaggerate themselves times 10.
Yeah.
And like, it's really like times 2. Like, you just maybe raise the voice a little bit, like, make a couple motions, but you don't want to come across fake. And dude, like, that's been one of the hardest things. I mean, this has been a 10-year journey for me of making content. Mm-hmm. I started at 18. I'm 28 now. And it's just figuring out who you are, what your voice is. And I don't think I figured that out. I think that I've gotten closer, but man, it's been a crazy journey for sure.
Well, authenticity's, that's something I think that, like, in the pursuit of yourself, in the pursuit of life, you come across yourself, you face what you like, what you don't like, in others and in yourself. And like, that's just the narrative. That's the story playing out. And it's hard to live out an independent, Huckleberry Finn's story, because in our modern day and age, we are so centralized and just live in this way. Depending on the city you grew up, you can literally tell, the interests, the music you listen to, and it's, what's even weirder is, like, there's not that many bands that people listened to in the 90s. Like, everyone listened to like the same 100 bands.
Right. And you'd had to find those
no one knew
that, right. Yeah.
No one knew like of like independent artists, and
it was hard.
And that monopoly still exists, although to a lesser degree. But, I think, like, going into the conversation of what is Web3, what is NFTs, what is new media, in that same place, trying to build a system that isn't monopolized, that isn't, there to brainwash you, to profit off of you, but using technology as a utility, as a true utility.
Good hot word.
And in that manner, being able to have it be just and fair. And like that line of what is right, what is wrong, what is legal, what is illegal, what is, justifiably, valuable, and then what is, not valuable, what is dangerous, what is harmful. I think that we're really painting along the outline of these questions that for the longest time, people didn't have the time to ask.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see this market develop. The independent, when you're talking with Joey, in your last interview, you mentioned, that a lot of people in this market have a lot of skills. but that's just the marketplace that's evolved through the breaking down of that centralized economy where people had to get many different skills, learn video production, photography, audio, back end editing. As to our parents, they could learn one skill set
and do a job for 40 years, get retirement, have a pension, blah, blah, blah.
So it's a new economy. It's a new space. And I want you to brain fart onto this microphone.
Okay.
What is going on? What are NFTs? What is Web3? What is the metaverse?
Oh man.
And like let's do this. Let's go there.
Bro, there's so much, and like we're gonna have to take it one bite at a time, man.
Okay.
They say isn't there a quote where it's like, how do you eat an elephant or whatever? It's one bite at a time. I mean, bro, there's like 2 elephants in here and we both have to eat them, and I hope you're hungry.
We need a community, dude.
Bro, so and that is the thing, man, is like, where do we even begin? So first of all, let's kind of talk about you were talking about, the Web 2 space, which is kind of still what we're in right now, which is Instagram and social media. So for people that don't know, Web 1 was when like email came out and when like instant messenger came out. It was just the ability to communicate online, right? There was no social media, but it was email. It was being able to like do a web search.
Right.
Web 2 came out, and that's social media. That is Facebook. That was MySpace. That was Zanga. That was Tumblr. That was Instagram. But the interesting thing about that stuff is like, let's say, let's just say you're into cars, which I don't know if you are, but are you into cars?
I'm actually getting more and more into the mechanical field since I started working as an HVAC technician. I'm working with bearings and motors and electrical parts. So
so let's say
I'm in the space.
Let's say that that you make an Instagram about like all things electrical, all things bearings, and you're posting like the coolest niche stuff. And you get 100,000 followers, or you get 1 million followers, and you're getting 100,000 likes on each photo. You don't own that IP. Like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook owns the IP on Instagram. You just get the likes, and hopefully we'll get a brand deal that, you say, these posts were brought to you by G Fuel or whatever. And G Fuel, if you want to sponsor me, feel free. But
my name's Garrett.
Yeah, his name's Garrett. But there was no ownership there. Yeah. There was no equity. And what is happening now, Web3 is on a very basic level. Don't think about NFTs right now. Don't think about the metaverse. Just think about Web3 is transitioning from having zero ownership in Web2 to having complete ownership in Web3 or fractional ownership. It is the transition to Web3 is not this like there are aspects that are this like technological, like crazy advancement. On a basic level, Web3 is the ownership version of our digital existence. That is what it is.
Now, is some of that because of, and I'm going to kind of take a leap here.
Please.
I would make the theory or the hypothesis that this technology has been able to come about because of the cost of memory and bandwidth has dropped so much, whereby we don't need these centralized institutions to hold the actual back-end servers. That individual people can run servers out of their own house.
Right.
The nodes out of their phone. They can utilize their bandwidth.
Well, you're getting into like, yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing about these conversations too, is like, dude, they veer so often. Like now you're talking about blockchain technology, like about like when like blockchain technology has been here for, I mean, almost
20.
I mean,
it's like 2002.
Yeah.
98 when it first like.
I think like 2016 was when it got interesting. Like 2016 to 2018 is when like Ethereum, like Silk Roads existed, but there wasn't any like real value to be seen yet, other than like, this is interesting. But like 2016 to 2018 is when Ethereum came to play. There were 2 different kinds of Ethereum. There was Ethereum and then Ethereum Classic, which came from, God, man, there's so much to talk about. But Yeah, man. So I think that's when 2016 is when blockchain really got happening.
That's when it got hit.
So, but like this is what people need to think about is like how many daily users are on social media? Hundreds of like I mean, are we talking a billion? Right? I would even say more. Like,
well, I mean, probably. I think a lot of
Hundreds
those
of millions
I think
for
a lot
sure.
of those numbers are skewed because there's so many fake accounts that I don't even think people have really taken into account how many fake accounts.
bro, but
there
I'm
are.
saying we know there's
But
100
there's
million.
at least 100 million.
Right.
Correct. I mean, more than 100 million.
and
Probably close to hundreds of millions.
And in I think I heard it in 2019, but I'm sure that the stat's gone up. That in 2019 they did a study where they asked a bunch of kids, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And their answer was a YouTuber. And that has been true with adults even. Is like, oh man, the dopamine hit I get from like instant gratification of someone liking my photos and me building a brand and becoming an influencer. Like the term influencer has died out.
I agree.
But a couple years ago, that was the thing, right? It was like, I am my brand. I get these brand deals that pay me and I promote them.
Which made people very inauthentic.
And so that's the trick, right? Is like, what happened is people were like, oh, I'm actually not making any money off my likeness. I'm making money to promote other people's stuff, but I have a big following. And so people were like, dude, I have no equity here. Like, I can't, unless I'm Logan Paul or like KSI or some of the biggest YouTubers, like my likeness doesn't really matter. It's the follower count that's on my page.
You don't matter, guys. Did you hear that?
You don't matter. Only we do.
Only we matter.
You do matter. Maybe. But I think what happened is, man, people were like, I have to figure out how to like build equity in this. And so I want to stay on this ownership thing for a second, because before we get into blockchain, before we get into NFTs, man, I think it's super important to drive home that when you hear Web3,
Right.
it is when people kind of woke up and realized I should have ownership of my creations in a digital sense. Like everything that I am a part of digitally should have an equity system built behind it.
Similar to how the music industry is built.
And see, that's dude, I think that there's a couple industries, and that will go into the NFT thing, but like, bro, the music industry is going to change in the next 5-10 years. It will,
needs to.
dude. Like, and there's been a couple failed projects with music NFTs, and we'll jump into like what NFTs are. But like, yes, man, like the music industry. So like, what we're gonna see is in the coming years, is people creating like public companies digitally, based around their likeness, based around a brand they build. And it won't require like Coca-Cola coming in and giving them a sponsorship. They won't need it. Like you won't need to get a brand deal.
I love this bleeds into the space of one of my passions of sustainability. And maybe some of that's from being brainwashed in college, but no, I think that there's a need for the human race to decentralize. To having a global market has its place, has its value, but the dependence on when everything is coming from somewhere else, like you become very you're weakened, you're
vulnerable.
That's the word.
I think and we talked about this off camera, but I want to say it again. Like when people use the word decentralized, there's this like weird connotation behind it that's like almost like anarchy, and that is far from no one. Some people might want anarchy, but that would suck. Like that existence would be terrible, man. Like we need regulation, we need standards and practice. But what decentralization means at a very basic level is that there's no single point of failure. Like if a person or a thing controls whether or not the system built around them can fail or win, that is centralized. So like if what's a good example?
Well, this goes into sustainable design though, because you have to diversify your energy, you have to diversify your food systems, diversity is, and I hate how HR companies have changed the meaning of diversity, but in my opinion, diversity is abundance. Is variance. Because when you first got here, we were talking about how like every kid growing up is different. Every human is different.
Yeah, man.
How weird allergies are. And
right, because I have some weird allergies.
Yeah, and it's just like how to design your life around those problems rather than just throwing in your gloves and giving up on your dreams and be like, well, I guess I'm just a part of the system.
Yeah.
I think in this space that's being created, there's going to be opportunity for people to live more optimal lives. We've been stuck in a machine for so long that it's just grinding out mental health problems after mental health problem. And it's driving the human consciousness into a state of curiosity again. And so I think there's a shifting wave of curiosity to confidence that moves and rifts throughout the human populations in time. And in that we're back into the space of curiosity of trying to engineer new problems. And we kind of lived out the last leg of the economy that in which we knew, and we're kind of designing a new system of knowledge, a new system of education, a new system of economy, to try to make it so that it doesn't involve human slavery.
Yeah.
For us, in America, all the way to the children in Africa, like, of what Akon is working on. Oh
man, his stuff is amazing.
We have to start thinking on more of a sustainable manner. So, because what happens is the more things that are made outside of yourself, the less value you can see it. And so if I'm just seeing this plastic plate on my electrical outlet, I don't see that as value. But if you could store an entire narrative behind how that got made and what all went in and every single like hour spent of someone fighting with their wife, driving this material, like if you knew the story behind this outlet plug, like how much that would change how long you took care of that outlet plug. And so there's this idea of adding narrative to increase the rate of sustainability because people are able to pay attention and what their time actually takes on a new monetary value.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think that, a lot of things we value today, like the one thing that, reigns true is history does repeat itself, and that like there are things that are baked into our human existence that will, adapt, but they won't change. Like I think that like there's stuff that we have just done for hundreds and thousands of years that like won't change, man. And I think that it's important to know what battles to fight. And when you do pick the battle to fight, you fight hard and you don't stop and you don't give in. And I think that there are some human existence battles that we need to be fighting. And the one of like, you talked about human slavery, man. I think that's like one that needs to be fought to the nail. And man, I think we as humans I told you this off air that like I am naturally an optimist. I will always be that. I've never been a pessimist.
Same.
Like, bro, I believe in humans till the end. It doesn't matter what happens. Like, I think that bad things that happen are outliers.
Right.
Like, they're not the common. And so what you can do is then when the majority is good, if the majority bands together to fight the bad, the majority will win. But
agreed.
There is a
classic Star Wars movie,
bro. Right, any hero,
the Force, dude.
Any
it's
hero
real.
Journey, dude. Like
Life of Pi.
I don't know why I thought of American Pie. I was like, how is that like American Pie?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a hero journey though. Bro, like I think that, and to bring it to Web3, man, like I think that the genesis of this is going to kind of redefine the power we have to change things. Mm-hmm. And for people who are like, what do you mean? How can Web3 change our human existence? Because our communities have been led by corporations and led by narratives being pushed by people that get to define what's being said. And now what's happening is freedom. And like, right. Dude, and it sounds really utopian and crazy. And I think there is a level of like being unrealistic that that everyone in the community has right now, because we see the potential of it and it's still unfolding, man. We're so early, but
well, humans do a great job of messing great things up.
Yeah, and they do a great job of making
Rome
things
is great.
right. And they do a great job of making things great.
Yeah, they
and
do.
Like,
I
think that there, you'll have to man, I heard someone say this the other day, and I'm gonna mess up the quote. What's the quote? Where it's like you have to separate the wheat from the chaff. Like I think that's it. It's like, we're gonna siphon out the BS.
Yeah, and I think so.
And so, man, I'm excited, dude. I'm excited, especially like so my company's Ultralight. And the story behind Ultralight is like how I got the name is kind of crazy, and we can go into it if you want to.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But like as it exists right now, it's education, and I really want to provide the truth, the ultralight of what's going on. And so with NFTs and with crypto and Web3, right. My goal here is to not teach you about projects that you should get involved in, that you should be financially invested in, because this is never financial advice. But it's to like give you an example of things that are happening that the macro of it is cool. Like one of them is like Psychedelics Anonymous is a project that I just talked about. They're
super cool.
Yeah, they're a project out of and there is some controversy with them. Like of course, but the idea behind them is really cool. So they're a project out of Australia. The founder of it made some really big companies. He exited, got a bunch of money, and he made a company because he struggled with mental health like bad, and he found psychedelics. And the interesting thing is that in Australia, they legally can't tell you or stop you from doing something that benefits your mental health. So you can tell someone, like, you can do psychedelics in Australia if it's for the purpose of helping you in a mental health sense.
Cool. That's cool.
What you can't do is in Australia, you can't tell someone to buy something or tell someone to take something. So they have these systems in that country where you can go to a place with your psychedelics and they can help you prepare for like what to expect. They can help you through the journey, then help you outside of it. And there's some really interesting studies with what psychedelics do, but this project is funding major research that like wouldn't get funded without.
That's incredible.
And so, they're mint price, and we'll explain what this is real quick. So should we go into NFTs real quick?
I think NFTs are a good kind of like following the genesis. So
okay.
You've got the genesis, you have Web 2 where people don't own crap. You centralize all the server systems.
Right.
You've got to go to GoDaddy or, one of these big server companies to be able to pay for your web address.
And you still have to do that. Like ENS, like you still have to buy, if you want like a Garrett.eth, like you have to go to ENS and buy that.
So, but there is now, it's structured in that like there is a different type of ownership now. It's not 100%. Like your and I mean, I guess you can, it's similar. And I think it's important.
I think that example is a little off just because like you could buy a .com and own that .com and sell that .com. You can buy
right. That's what I was kind of
but like
still sell it and make money.
The ownership is in the like macro of our digital existence. Like man, I think we should go.
So we'll scale outwards. One. So we'll go into NFTs, and I guess I was trying to say like NFTs are basically a product of Web3.
Yes.
And so you have like Web3 as a larger
Web3
spectrum.
is the macro.
And so there's a lot of pockets of that. And NFTs are kind of a product that's really undefined.
I think that they're undefined for the masses. I think that they are clearly defined for people in the community that understand them. And so let's define it.
Let's do it.
So an NFT stands for a non-fungible token, which is an asset that you can prove you own and trade. Where people get it messed up is like, they're like, why would I buy this picture of an ape and why is it worth $250,000? It's a good question. I think that the way NFTs exist right now, will change.
It's meme culture.
Dude, but it's even like, why is it worth $250,000? It's the same reason why like people buy Rolexes and people buy whatever. And they're like, but I can screenshot it. And the example I give is, dude, I could stand outside of your house right now and take a selfie of me in front of your house and then tell everyone that I own that house. But like, I don't have the deed to your home. With these images, you do have the deed to that home, and it is yours. You do own it. And there's obviously some lines where it can get really sketchy, but like ultimately, I just want to explain like what they are. There are red flags on marketplaces that like some marketplaces say you own it and you don't. Like, I want to be careful here. And just so you guys know too, like I have to say this legally, like I'm not affiliated with any of the projects I speak about. I had a conversation with an attorney the other day because I'm now getting involved in some stuff that are potential partnerships and whatever. And he's like, dude, like everything you do and say, you have to like make the disclaimer either that you're affiliated or that you're not. And so like I'm not affiliated with Psychedelics Anonymous, but the controversy with them is like in their terms, like in their like fine print, they have that, you know, you buy this NFT on OpenSea, but if you like break our terms, then we can take that from you. And like, that's scary, right? Cause you know,
well, that's what people fear about communism is the state taking ownership of the people's stuff. And so there's this historical balance of community interrelating with itself.
Communism's an interesting example. I've never thought of that. But yeah, man, I think like, right, like on paper, communism kind of looks okay. But man, but anyways, to NFTs.
I hear what you're saying.
So NFTs as they exist right now in the public eye are these like crappy JPEGs that are worth $250,000.
Yeah.
And that will change, dude. Like that bubble will burst.
I think so.
But here's why NFTs are cool. NFTs are cool because it is the first utility that we've seen in Web3 that provides ownership. So I own a couple NFTs, and the majority of them are all utility. None of them are profile pictures. Like one of the NFTs I own is a governance token. And so what it does is I own a certain amount of these governance tokens, and it gives me voting rights in a company, in a DAO. And so I am now like on the board of a Web3 company. It's like buying stock, but the utility behind this stock doesn't just stop at voting rights. There's so much more utility. And like one of the utilities is having a show. Like there's potential there. And I kind of go into this project that I'm talking about because there is a little bit of affiliation with me and them. So I don't want to name them right now. But like, man, I think that there is... This NFTs provide you with the ability to create utility and terms within a digital smart contract. All NFTs are, you break them down, take the picture away. Literally take...
Or just take a picture.
Or just take... Right. Yeah, dude. I want to get that...
Okay, so take a picture. I don't know.
Well, but like, no. I would even say put that picture back because like, I like that. Is that real? Those are real? Yeah?
I guess so.
That's so sick, dude.
Susan's crafty.
Murdering butterflies.
Look, dude, it's for the sake of art.
Hey, man. Dude, murder for art, baby. But so like literally like the audience, like I need you to, oh, that's my camera. Looking at that camera. I need you to, for a second, put the crappy pictures that NFTs are branded as right now in the back of your brain. The Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, the crypto punks, those are not the important part here. What is important is the contract behind that NFT. These contracts are new. These have never existed before. And what they do is they provide you with a new way to get around middlemen, to get around paper pushing. And
Lawyers.
There's an interesting, bro. So like, I think we will always.
I think lawyers are going to disappear.
Oh no, I don't think so. I think that we're always going to need them. I think that.
I think they're going to be linguists in the future,
bro.
Not our attorneys.
I
think AI is going to be able to sort out pros and cons much better than
there's a lot of
human
nuance
manipulation.
though. Like
There's a lot of manipulation in that's potential.
And I'm a little biased because like one of my attorney and one of my well, and one of my best friends is my attorney and he's an attorney, and like I've had an opportunity to watch him practice law and like to litigate, and I kind of dig it, dude. Like I know him personally, and so like he's a good guy, and like
He puts a good flavor on it.
I mean, obviously, if I was the person that he was like screwing over, I wouldn't like him.
Yeah,
but like it is what it is. So yeah, dude. But
that's why. Let's go back to smart contracts.
Yeah,
you don't get screwed over.
but no. So right, and so that's the thing, man. Is like these NFTs.
It's a better form of a legal system, is what I'm getting at.
It is a better form of
contractual systems, rather.
Yeah, right. Because like the legality behind a lot of this stuff, dude, is crazy. Like, and I'm really trying to stay on track here because there's so many different places I can veer. But I want to make the point very clear that NFTs are not pictures.
Right.
That is one form of a way.
Well, that's like saying music is not just sound,
bro. Well, but like it is an NFT at its core is a contract. Mm-hmm. That is what it is. Like there's nothing else, dude. Like you can put that contract behind your music. You can put that contract behind your house. You can put that contract behind your art. You can put that contract behind yourself. Mm-hmm. Like you can, one of the most interesting ones that I think people need to understand, and we talked about this briefly, but like an industry this is going to take over in the next 5 years is real estate.
Yeah. Well, it's so tedious to have to go through the city records. Like, why do I have to go through these like 19th century catalogs when we have the internet? Like why is there so many documents? Why don't we have, like, this house should have a documentation form where every time we have a technician comes out, it's recorded on our blockchain. And then now you have, in that catalog of this property, you've got every single purpose, every single person that's been involved. And so if the house were to blow up, we could look back at this blockchain and say, okay, well, let's see who was, what happened, who was responsible, who should have caught that. What is it? The homeowners? Was it
exactly?
We had that house blow up in Cartersville recently, and
my mom lives like right in front of that house.
Yeah, and was it the one right next to the Cravies?
It was. Do you remember? The Mullinexes? It was their house.
Yeah,
their old house.
And so I do, and it's like
I think it was like 2 houses next to the Cravies.
That's unacceptable.
Which is crazy because their house burned down.
There's a flaw, and if we had a blockchain that could record all the equipment, every single piece of every furnace, how the gas pipes were laid, and we had blueprints backlog on a blockchain for that house, we could find.
And I would just say NFT, like just say NFT so people don't be like, what the fuck is I don't know if I can, like, what's a blockchain?
It's fine.
But yeah, like, dude, I would just, and like, you're right. Like, yes, and that's the trick, dude, is like, it will take work. Someone will have to input this information and you'll have to build out your own smart contract. But that is the idea. So like, here's an interesting example. Let's say that you own a house in the Hamptons, right? And it is a destination house. Like, this house is $10 million and like everyone wants to go to this house.
Right.
And you're like, man, I've lived my time here. It's time to desize. Dude, I can't think of the word for like when you want to, oh my God.
Downsize.
Downsize.
There
Oh
it
my
is.
God.
D-size. You were
Woo,
like,
dude.
there's an OWN.
Bro, that turmeric in there, man, got me spiced up.
got that circulatory
Woo!
system.
So, but let's say it's time to downsize, right? Like I've lived in this $10 million house. It's time to get a $5 million condo in New York. Well, but you see the intrinsic value behind this house and you know that this house is going to make money. So let's say you sell this house to like an event person, like someone who's an event coordinator. And you literally NFT your house, not the picture of your house. You create a smart contract behind this destination house. Okay, it's not a picture. You can, if you want to, you can use the picture of the house in the contract, whatever. But the picture of the house isn't the NFT. It's the contract based around it. So this is what you can do. You can say you can sell this house to an event coordinator and say, in the smart contract, I get 1% in perpetuity for every dollar made from an event, from whatever, in this NFT. And you can now create new terms and contracts, and you can create new streams of income, and you can create anything you want now without like having to go through the real estate agency or having to go through the lawyers. Obviously, you know, if you're dealing in millions of dollars, there will be, you know, attorneys involved, but it's up to you to create the terms, and you can do anything you want. You can write in that contract when you buy this house, if you ever sell it again, or if you throw an event, which no one would probably sign if you throw an event, but if you ever sell this house again, I get 1% in perpetuity forever. And that's crazy. Like, that is the future. That is what we're going to see change our existence digitally. Like, bro, it is not about the art. That stuff's cool. And like, if you collect art, trust me, people think this bubble's going to pop, and it will. But history does repeat itself. And in 20 years, when these, 20 years when these like 5-year-olds are looking back, bro, like your CryptoPunk, your Bored Ape Yacht Club, your Doodle, your Crypto Mori are all going to be vintage and retro, and they're going to be worth millions of dollars. They might be worth, like some of those are worth $250,000, $1 million.
Right.
That bubble might pop, and in the next 5 years, they might be worth $1,000, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But think about like Charizards. Think about Pokemon cards. Bro, like I definitely know I've had Charizards in my life, and like, you know, they were hot for a couple years, and then they were worth nothing. The Pokemon bubble popped, and they were like, bro, like I can't even get rid of these Pokemon cards, man. I'm gonna just sell them for $1 at a garage sale. Well, now a Charizard, a holographic Charizard, it's potentially worth anywhere from like $10,000 to $250,000. And it just took time. It took patience.
Well, scarcity too.
Right. And like, like the retro vintage stuff, dude, like, trust me on this, dude. If you buy a art NFT right now, I can almost guarantee you that the value of that NFT will drop. Like it,
Right.
It would, but the bet is not on how valuable this is in a year. The bet is on how valuable this is in 20 years. Like, dude, and I do want to say this. So, when I got into this, let me tell you where Ultralight came from. So, I'm going to just tell you, like, the business side of it. We can talk about the personal if you want to, but I quit a corporate job I had in sales. Right before COVID happened, I was getting flown out to LA every month to interview, like, Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and it was, like, my dream, right? COVID happened. I'm literally on a plane coming back from LA when COVID is like starting. And there's an older couple. I always sleep on planes. And so like, I'm like, have my head on the wall, and there's an older couple sitting next to me, and they asked to move. And it was just because like, they couldn't tell if I was sick. I was just sleeping. And I was like, what is that? And so COVID hits. That job goes away. And I get an offer from a buddy of mine who's really successful. He owns one of the biggest bourbon companies in the Southeast. And he said, Wes, Your personality is unbelievable. Please come sell bourbon for me. And dude, he put his neck out there for me, and he gave me an opportunity that I'm forever grateful for. And you know, I feel bad about how I stepped away from it, but I couldn't be more grateful from him. Anyways, so I get a year in. I'm doing well, you know, making good money. And I go to the Jake Paul fight. I got invited to go to the Jake Paul fight. Me and my buddy Ed went, and cool. I'm there, and I'm talking to like YouTubers and like famous people and shit. And sorry, I'll stop cussing, but
I don't care.
I don't know, like the platform. Okay,
yeah, I don't care.
But it hits me, dude. I'm like, oh, I am wasting my time. Dude, the next day, pick up the phone, quit. Boom, done. I'm done, man. And thankfully, I had stuff going on with Adult Swim. You know, we were selling a TV show.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So all that happened.
That was like all around that time. So
Okay.
I had an income. I had a stream of income that wasn't the same, but it was at least let me pay my bills. So I quit the job, dude. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I am going to live out my potential. So I get introduced to crypto, made some money, lost some money. And then I hear the word Web3 and I'm like, what is this? At first, dude, I didn't like this.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. But what I saw was, and the reason Ultralight exists as it does now, is I saw a hole in the market that was, there were NFT Instagrams and people on YouTube that were talking about NFTs or crypto, but there was no media and news source that told the whole story. And so I was like, oh, there's a hole in this market where I can tell the macro story of Web3 and no one else is doing it. And so it started out by me not liking this. I just saw a hole in the market and was like, I'm going to capitalize. What happened is I fell in love with it, dude. And like, I see the value. And now, even like as of, not even kidding, man, yesterday I had a meeting with someone who challenged me on the story I'm telling, and like it's changing every day. So yeah, man, like it just, Ultralight started first by me seeing a hole in the market, and then me falling in love with the market. And now it's this thing where like, dude, I feel like I have this social responsibility to tell the truth.
Yeah. I like that. Well, there is a need because a lot of people don't understand what is going on.
Yeah.
Like they don't understand what an NFT is, Web3. They are sucked in the bubble of the television and the apps that come pre-programmed in their phone.
And the media and like the narrative behind what these are. Like everything on mainstream media right now is like, Bored Ape Yacht Club. Like this is what an NFT is.
Well, everyone's gotten some message from some African name, random scammer, you know, buy into my crypto, you know,
bro,
like
I get it from Jane. Like, dude, actually, we don't have to look at my phone, bro. You would not believe, like, my message requests on Instagram. I probably have 500. That's like, you've been selected to be on this whitelist. You've been selected, blah blah blah. And like, dude, like, yeah, I've never been scammed yet, thankfully.
Good for you.
Yeah,
and you got to be careful. And that's where like, what one thing I've kind of like really learned is in this space, it's very community centric. And that's once you get involved into the community, you can understand each contract that you are invested in.
Right.
And then there becomes, you're able to actually have an appropriate valuation of it. And then also have relationships that in which you are working with. It's almost like in rock climbing, there's a really good culture of wanting the other climber to do well.
That's cool.
And even in competitions, it's like people cheering you on and like you're going against them, but like they don't want you to fall. They want to see you like
Get to the top.
Yeah, there's a mutual relationship to that dopamine hit of someone else becoming successful in your tribe that the larger it gets, you know, I've got, 4,000 Facebook friends. Like I don't like one of them gets big. It's like, I'm not invested. And so it's interesting how a big part of the market has grown from the gaming industry because gamers created their own market systems inside games and their own value systems, and they made friends and there was like this trusted system of like, you can't get this weapon unless you spent $30. And so now your character's worth this. And like, there was this, I guess, way that money has moved into the gaming world that's now like reflecting back into what is now the NFT world. And that's one thing that I've had a hard time breaking through, is because a lot of these crypto networks are like gamers, and I don't game. Like,
I'm not a gamer.
I'm an in real life person. I like talking. I like
IRL,
interviewing.
all day.
But that is coming, and we had talked about how the cheap nature to entertainment in and of itself, and eventually you've seen enough sex scenes, you've seen enough gun scenes that you just kind of like
desensitized.
You're desensitized. But what that does is it increases your ability to pay attention to the narrative, to the story, to the meanings, the history, the figurative language, the art, the detail, and through that is where you really accumulate a true taste for value.
Well, bro, that's where brands are headed, man. Like the brand story is everything now. Like the story behind what this company is. Like, dude, we're seeing it every day. Like, and it's, listen, man, I will never knock someone for being a capitalist. Like, I get it. I'm a capitalist. We're all dude, I want to win financially and in business.
Yeah.
And I will. And I can't lie. But what we've seen in the past couple of years is like a really disingenuous brand story being told by these like mega companies, tech companies that are like, we're inclusive and like everyone's welcome and your voice is heard. And like, dude, there's so many people being silenced and stuff and shadow banned every single day that like, you're controlling who's included, and you're controlling because we're allowed to have different opinions.
You can buy out Google, and so you can buy out these search engines and suppress the little guys. And so by creating these smart contracts, you're leveling the playing field, so that way it's not how the music industry has designed their contract system, where they own the radio stations, they own the servers that are on Pandora. You have artists, some Atlanta artists, I won't mention names because I don't like hating, but like, like they own these radio waves and they own these stations, and like it's their, and I mean, that's cool. I think everyone should have their own flavor, they should have their own, playlist. That's cool. But the problem is that not only is it it's not valuable material. Like the media that we have is cheap. It's repetitive. It's not unique, and it's fake. And we need more authenticity in our art, in our community, in our relationships, and that's one thing that I've had a hard time breaking into the space, is finding that community. And Joey's a part of a really good community.
And I can help you.
And this is where like you have to find someone, and that's how human networks grow. Is like you learn, you meet someone from them, and you build a network, and like that network is becoming integrated more into an augmented space. And this is kind of like the bridge into where something you mentioned earlier, and at this point I forget if I don't think we were recording at the time, but where you mentioned virtual reality has its limitations.
Yeah.
So talk about, instead of virtual reality, where you see this being able to play a role in the continuation of the narrative, of perfecting the value system, of creating a stronger essence of community.
So the metaverse is another buzzword right now that everyone's talking about, and not everyone, but a lot of the mainstream idea behind it is that it's like Ready Player One. If you've ever seen that Spielberg movie, which it's this kid who puts on these goggles, he gets in this world, and like he exists there. There's physical feeling. It's a 4D element. That's not where we're headed. Where I believe we're headed is towards augmented reality. Because let me tell you why. So, and this is the example I give, man. Like, remember, and we talked about this. Remember when 3D TVs were cool for a year?
Yeah.
And there were like serious health implications behind it. And they're like, oh, we can't sustain this. Like, this is like giving people migraines. It's hurting people. Oculus, the Hue Vive and all that stuff. Like, that stuff's cool, but that's not sustainable. What will be sustainable is augmented reality. So the metaverse will not exist. I think there will be subcultures and there will be aspects that are virtual, that are completely separating yourself from reality, that will exist and it will become far more
And it might
advanced.
be a part of the psychedelic space in terms of substance interrelated to...
It's an interesting,
I could see there being some play off of Neuralink and psychedelics.
There's some interesting, and we can dive into that. There's some interesting stuff like Kundalini but like there will be a subculture and there will be an industry behind virtual reality that is going to look far different than it does now, and it's going to be way more advanced. But the mainstream adoption of the mass adoption of the metaverse will be you existing in the physical plane and having an extension digitally that displays and articulates your information, your community. Our metaverse will exist in this physical reality.
Like
it will not, I mean, it will, but it will, on a mainstream level, it will not exist virtually. Like, dude, I think phones are going to go away. I think that, like, we're gonna be like, it's like pagers, dude. Like, it's gonna be like, oh man, remember when you had that block that you had to put in your pocket and carry around? Like, dude, it's going to change into whether it's glasses, a watch. Some people will get implants, which a lot of people don't like. Some people will, there will be some things you can do that are interesting. But it'll be like this, man. It'll be like, I'll be like, dude, so I got this. I just bought this new car. And you're like, oh, word. I was like, yeah, bro, I bought the NFT for it the other day. You want to check it out? And I'm like, and you're like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, check this out. Boop, boop. The car pops up in the living room. A digital version of it where you can like look around it, like Minority Report, and you can like look like, dude, look, here's the interior. Instead of me having to pull up my phone, pull up a picture, hopefully it loads, like try to zoom in with my fingers on the, I'll be able to be like, oh, dude, you want to see this car? And so there will be an NFT contract behind that car that digitally like concretes that into my wallet. And then I'll be like, bro, you want to check that out? Here you go. Foop. And then I'll spin the car around, be like, bro, check out this interior, blah, blah, blah. I'll be able to press on the radio and be like, yeah, you see how it's like a Bose system? And it'll like tell you that will be the metaverse. The metaverse will not be, I don't think, like us putting these goggles on and like having a character that like.
Not in our generation, it won't be.
Bro, I don't even think, like, I mean, and listen.
I think there'll be some subcultures that go into that infinite wasteland.
Bro, and that already exists, number one.
Yeah.
Number two.
That's true.
It will exist and be advanced, but that will be like, think about it like this, man. Like, there are millions of people who play World of Warcraft, right? I mean, that industry is huge. But if you go to Applebee's on a Friday night and it's packed out, bro, I would say 5 people in that Applebee's probably play WoW and like really play it. So it's an industry and it's big, but every one of those people in that Applebee's has a phone. Like, I think that the virtual reality will be a subculture and augmented reality will be the main.
Okay. I like that a lot. I like that a lot because that kind of defines the individuality and the decentralization of the system as a technology.
Yeah.
And also as a community orientation to the facilitation of the new media. And I think that like what's the invaluable thing in it is the ability to kind of rewrite our political paradigm of the HOA all the way to local politics. And that's kind of what artificial cities is in the space of.
Talk about what you do real quick.
So I talk to people. I like talking. I like conversation. And I met Gary. He found me online, probably on some rant I was having, just speaking some logic to random people, because it's arguing online's fun. Yeah, especially when you're right.
Yeah. Right.
Nah. So Gary found me. We had a great conversation, And he's got a really cool resume from working with special operations and such, aiming satellites and really cool back end programming knowledge.
People are so much cooler than us, dude.
Dude, I
It's so
know.
stupid,
So lame.
dude. And we just talk to people, dude. It's so stupid. Go ahead.
Golly,
I know.
no. People are great. People are interesting, and Gary's an extremely interesting guy.
I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah, I'll see if he wants to come on. He doesn't want to be the face of it, so he's kind of pushing for me to help build the brand out as the influencer kind of nature.
Yeah, but so talk about like what Artificial Cities does, and then talk about Grow My Community, because I think we can have a public conversation about, and it will help kind of lead into the next topic of Web3 that I want to talk about. But talk about like what Artificial Cities does with their technology, and then talk about Grow My Community.
So Artificial Cities is a company with it's basically a programming company. They've got 2 base programs right now, and they can be articulated, specified per area. Gary has he started in South Fulton of Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
And that's kind of where he built his blueprints at. And he basically designed a 3D model of the whole city, drove around with the camera, stitched everything together.
That's so sick.
And then, his idea is making smart cities. And there's a natural pushback in today's day and age of moving into the space of AI, of smart technology, because there can be, you can build bias into it. And so you have to be very careful about what technology is being incorporated and how it's being done, but it shouldn't stop progression itself.
Sure.
You have, I like to think of the Conservative Party likes to conserve what has been, don't fix what's broken. The Progressive Party wants to make things better. However, when you do that, you also come across other problems and other new situations in which you never have to deal with had you just stayed conservative. So there's this balance of progressing into the future that I think we need to be very wary of. And this is where Grow My Community kind of balances it out. But I'll get to that in a moment. So one program that Artificial Cities runs is a city manager app, and you can basically upload any situation you have in your community. You can submit it, and whether it's trash on the road, erosion problems, and it goes through a ticketing system that then disseminates it to the appropriate department that is responsible. So, and it's public domain, it's publicly done, so people can start holding their garbage companies, their public utility companies. They can hold these elected politicians accountable for not doing their job.
That's so sick.
Because what you have is this good old boy network of people who know somebody, and we elect this guy, and he puts his guys in, and there's a level of trust where I want him hiring someone he trusts. Mm-hmm. But when I'm getting 30% of my paycheck cut out and my roads are still messed up, and we have drought problems, or we have flooding problems, and we have erosion problems, and we have garbage problems, and we have all of this neglect in our city, and there's no one to really hold accountable, we need a smart system to do so. We have all of these, billboard after billboard and attorney after attorney making money off of car wrecks and these horrible situations and breakups, and instead of like investing into, how about we invest into counselors to help people stay together? How about we invest into smarter roads that in smarter vehicles? Because the way Gary was explaining, cars built since like 2010, they have a computer system that you can update the firmware.
Yeah.
And you can have smart cars already. If we, and it would be an attachment camera, probably 3 or 4 cameras on the car, and every car could be retroverted to working on a smart. And then you make the road smarter. So now you went from having a car that was driving at 95%. Now you've got a car that's driving at 99.99. And Tesla's already like 100 years ahead of the game of what really we need. We really need smarter roads, safer roads. And so
autonomous driving is very interesting.
But that's kind of one of the inspirations for Gary is wanting to create smarter systems, smarter houses that use less energy, smarter transportation systems, smarter political systems, and that's where kind of focusing on the community. I think one of the things that attracted Gary to me, or me to Gary, vice versa, was my focus on Grow My Community, which is a centralized directory for a local community to work through. One product of that is a resource allocation system for farmers, gardeners to upload their produce. Now, I do see a place in the NFT market of it being burner coins per produce that's created. so we can create a.
I like that you know what burner coins are.
Yeah, so I've researched a little, and I've just had a hard time really getting deeper and deeper into it because I have that threshold of like I keep getting into these gaming communities.
Yeah, no, dude, I'll help you. I'll help you get in the right stuff. The burning. So I'll give you an example of a burner that exists just like what you're talking about already. It's called Hot Sauce Pepper Party. Ooh. And these NFTs, you buy these peppers, and they're NFTs, and you burn them, which just means you like literally get rid of them for a certain prize value, whatever. You burn these NFTs, and you get to make your own hot sauce with them. And that's done really well, dude.
That's really cool.
And so I think that in the produce, you're onto something there for sure. So Grow My Community is a centralized database.
Essentially, yeah, and it's been in development for 9 years or so. It's gone up and down. Like I've made a couple different platforms for it, and just through the years of working with different people, you just some things don't work out and you have to restart. But it's kind of just a passion project that I'm not giving up on.
It's time to turn that into segueing. This is what we do.
Let's do it.
It's time to turn that into a decentralized autonomous organization, my friend, which is the next topic that we're going to talk about, because I think you like how I did that?
That was good.
I think that as NFTs are the buzzword of 2022, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, are going to be the next like thing that MSNBC is like, what is a DAO? And I'm involved in a DAO right now, and it is, again, what decentralized means is there's no single point of failure. It is genuinely governed by whoever owns like the most DAO tokens or stakes, if that's an easier way to understand it, or shares.
I own a DAO token on Coinbase. Is that
what is it? Do you?
It just says DAO. I'll have to pull up my Coinbase and
that's
show
very
you.
interesting, dude. We'll have to look at it because I can kind of give. But anyway, so
I don't know what, because I own these cryptos, and I know that these cryptos are founded in actual other. They're more than just a crypto. A lot of them are. They're a part of their own blockchain, right?
Sometimes,
sometimes they are just a crypto.
Well, I have
currency.
to look at what you have.
Okay.
So decentralized autonomous organization.
Sorry,
bro. No,
I'm
like,
because I'm still stitching things together in my head of like I have this Coinbase, and then there's the Ethereum, and then going into
which Ethereum is just a coin that's on Coinbase. It's just a cryptocurrency,
and then it's used on
OpenSea. And there's so many different types of Ethereum: ERC20, ERC1115. Like, there's a bunch of stuff, dude.
Okay,
but so and I'm not gonna get super into DAOs in this conversation because, bro, that like it's another 2-hour conversation, and like I have actually notes in my phone that I've taken to articulate myself the best way, and I have to look at them just to make sure I'm saying the right stuff. But actually, dude, do you care if I like look at it really quick? Will you pass me my phone?
Yeah, here.
Okay. So
when augmented reality would be great. Hold on, let me just.
Bro, I'm telling you, like, dude, I think there will be a setting where I can see it and you can't. Where I'm just like, I'm sitting here, we're doing an interview, and like while you're sitting here, I just like blink twice and I'm scrolling through the document. Like, okay, got it, and then I can, you know what I mean? I think that will
some Black Mirror stuff,
bro. I think that will exist, bro. I really do.
I think so. But what you're really looking at is the goal is to increase the quality of life. And while you're looking for that, I'll kind of have a little rant about Artificial Cities. Other program is they have a quality of life scale.
Yep.
Where they take into a lot of they take in a lot of data, public data, and also personalized data, economic data, and they calculate quality of life in certain areas. Cost of living, criminal records, all yada yada, and you can see a scale that's been created as, and this is kind of the AI taken into effect, which once again you can build bias into that. Yeah. But the goal is to give people an idea of like this is a great place to live, a great school system, yada yada yada. Now, any point of failure from the centralized system, if the school systems preach and test scores, but their students still end up POSs when they grow up, like there's manipulation on the true calculation, but it's a good guesstimation. And in math, you really don't get exact numbers a lot of times, especially in very complex algorithms. You get best guesstimations, and I think that's kind of just the story of life. You don't really know anything other than what you think you've experienced, and
Right.
And so, that's kind of going back, like we're in that curiosity stage of the economy of venturing into, how can we make this better? How can we, develop better political discussion? Because the fact of the matter is there is biologists, there are horticulturists, there are, economists living in your neighborhood. And like, there is so much
Community.
Nutritional value coming out from every single geographic area, and people with such high calibers of capacity for understanding that they don't have to go specialize in a degree system to have a deep understanding and perhaps even a better unbiased understanding to specialty fields. And that's where you have this cancel culture becoming a problem. And if we had a different contractual system, be like, you know what? I've spent way more time studying the human body than this doctor. Here's my NFT
I don't know. That's
information that
yeah.
I have studied through my lifetime that I've put in to be able to have this value of perspective to carry in my voting for this discussion on what to do on public health. And so ways to antiquate your true value, and some, not with that being said, without ego, because there's,
I trust doctors.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, like,
I don't.
Yeah. I respect that.
And I do, but I have a level of skepticism to their field of study because I've worked there. I've been a product of their malfeasance. I've kind of been in the system, so I know what their limitations are, and that's something that in Web 2.0 world, where it's like you have these unidimensional measurements of how to value certain things.
Well, so that's where DAOs get really interesting. So, and I probably am actually going to read. So y'all can't see this. These are actually my notes. This isn't like a website. I wrote this. Let's just break down what it means. So a DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. The decentralized aspect of DAOs means that it's made up of a community. It's not dependent on a single individual or a single point of failure. Instead, it's made up of a larger community than just one person or one group that has control. The autonomous aspect of a DAO means that the DAO can update its own code, characteristics, in a multi-save system that can programmatically execute transactions under certain conditions in a blockchain setting, in a blockchain world. An organization obviously just means organization. So what this means is that based on the blockchain, right, which is where all this crypto and NFTs exist and all these contracts exist. It is a digital system that compiles information and distributes information. And what a DAO is it's now the ability to, let's say that you want to create a DAO that has a treasury, and all of the money from people buying in with either like a Genesis NFT that you drop that accumulates a token. With enough of those tokens, you can buy a DAO token, which gives you then voting rights and governance. And let's say your DAO is that you want to fund your own research and your own education around the medical industry. And you think that there is misinformation, and it's your purpose on this planet to tell the truth and to explore research. Well, you can obviously do that in the real world, but there's LLC, there's stuff you have to do, right? It could be a security so with a DAO, you can have a legitimate community-led effort for one goal, and that is funded by the community, that the decisions that the DAO makes are all made by the community. So there's a couple different kinds of DAOs. The two main ones are a multi-signature wallet DAO, which is like what I'm talking about, where you don't have to vote on one specific, extremely specific task. You can vote on kind of broader things. Whoever owns the DAO tokens gets a vote, and it's very democratic in that sense. Then there's an on-chain governor where there's like one person that makes decisions. All of the votes are on a specific. It has to be like, instead of a yes or no question, it's like this will happen or not. Like it's very
if then how math is written.
So like right. So and I can probably explain it a little bit better. Actually,
I can see that if then statements. So it's very nuanced and.
So this is the best way to say it, man. A DAO is a group of people that come together to manage incentives and assets using blockchain technology. A DAO is a group of people coming together to pool assets and voting power for a shared purpose. That's what a DAO is.
Which is what a community is supposed to be.
And dude, I'm telling you, that is going to be in 2023, 2024, the thing that people are like, that MSNBC and Good Morning America are like, what's a DAO? And like, one of the big ones in 2021 was, I don't know if you've heard of the Constitution DAO.
Mm-mm.
Oh, bro, these people put together a DAO. I think that they raised $43 million to buy the Constitution. That's a mic drop. They didn't win. There was a version of the Constitution that was being sold at Sotheby's.
Wow.
These people who aren't like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world put together a decentralized autonomous organization and raised $43 million
Jeez.
to buy the Constitution, dude. They were close, but they lost in the auction to some billion or whatever. But like, dude, it is truly giving governance, power, and resources to the community that we have never seen before.
Well,
and so I think with Grow My Community, you should look into making that a DAO, and I'll help you.
I love it. Yeah, let's do that because, the main goal, as I talked about the product of having a resource allocation for farmers and gardeners, the real goal is to create a more centralized system where we work with people instead of companies, and we empower people to save their money by being able to not have the money leave the community.
Yeah.
Too often you have people working inside the community and all their money is leaving the community, whether they're paying someone else who works for an international company and their money comes in. So if you rediverted the money to where people were paid directly, you could take away a huge percentage of the overhead cost, and you could change how much money is leaving compared to coming in, and you actually create an opportunistic cost of 20, 30, 40, 50, an infinite raise of sustainable effort whereby people can become more interdependent on each other, rather than these old, Web 2 systems that were very manipulative. You go onto Google and it's bought out. You can't, you can have research, but you put it on these research databases and they're bought out. And I founded the idea of Grow My Community when I was in my first year of college back in 2012, and I was trying to research for the use of medical marijuana. And that was like a big subject topic of my time. And I just really wanted to push that, like, this is ridiculous that this is illegal. This totally violates, like, this cannot be an illegal substance because it has medicinal purposes.
Right.
And so there was like, the more I looked for it, it's like, I know that these things are true. I've experienced a lot of these like factual things. I know that there's research on it. It was so hard to dig up research. There were so many big pharma studies that pointed towards everything negative and all of the side effects that are like irrelative, because even when you look at like psychosis with marijuana, there's almost always, if not always,
it's
another
drug,
substance.
Dude.
There's another substance involved. But I've always called with my son drugs medicine, or medicine drugs is the name I give them.
Because you go to the drug
That's
store.
what they are. They are a drug, a substance. And substance should be something that is used for a purpose temporarily until you no longer need it. And so there's this ability to build a community up to the point to where we can use these Web 2 corporations until we don't need them anymore.
Right, dude.
And creating a resource allocation for professionals, for, based on your location. If my neighbor's doing good and my neighbor's house doesn't go under, I'm doing good and my house isn't going to go under.
Right.
And so there's this value system in property that we've created, but they're built on these foundations that are more or less archaic.
Oh, it's changing, dude.
And because we live in this state of mutual usury and we don't value the community, we don't value this person's actual well-being.
Right.
We're so enslaved to the current market that, it's really taking away the ability for people to pursue happiness. And so one of my main things is I want to help design a smarter system. I want to help design a smarter city. I want to help design a smarter life, because all too often, people live their lives as victims rather than as heroes. And, life is hard. And you are wrong a lot in life. And that's,
oh my God, every day, dude. I'm wrong all the time.
And then you're wrong again. And then you realize you were partially right in both situations. And it's so nuanced and complex that we need a smarter system, a smarter economy to be able to help people cope with reality, because reality is, it can be dark. It can be
beautiful.
Tough.
It can be, yeah. I think, dude, like reality is just that. I think that, man, it can be.
It's a story.
I've had real moments that have been terrible, and I've had real moments that have been beautiful, and it's being able to be present in both of those and understanding the value of each, man. Like one of the practices, something that I've been practicing a lot and really, for a long time and really have done a lot of research in, is Stoicism.
Okay.
Like my background on my phone is Marcus Aurelius. Like dude, it's all about like not getting too excited in the good and not getting too upset in the bad, and just being present and kind of accepting things as they are and moving forward. And dude, I think that if you can figure out how to not be controlled by your circumstances, but instead control the response to your circumstances, you're going to do well in life. And we're seeing a lot of that happening in this Web3 stuff. We're seeing a lot of people that are saying, oh, the circumstances that have existed recently are not feasible for my existence, and I want that to change. And so I really believe, man, that like with Grow My Community, with your stuff, dude, I think that the only way it exists and thrives in the future is like you can't run it.
It can't work on a Web 2 platform, and that's what I was running into.
But like you can't run it, dude.
No.
You can lead it,
right.
But the community,
right?
Because if it's Grow My Community, it can't be Grow My Community with Garrett. It has to be Grow My Community.
Well, it has to be focused on geographic areas, and that's kind of needs to be the emphasis. There's different types of, there's interest-based communities which have their value, but that works more on the storage front of information. So you've got your data informatory, and then you have your resource allocation system.
Yeah.
And according to what each human needs at which point in time, we have Google, but like I said, Google's bought out, and it's streamlining the Web 2 system.
What just out of curiosity, what like search platform do you use?
DuckDuckGo right now.
Yeah, okay.
I still use Safari and Google for simplicity purposes.
Of course I do. Yeah.
I like DuckDuckGo, all right.
I like Opera. I like Brave. Those are both two.
I got big into the search engine game back like in 2015. I was like researching all the ones I wanted to like, because I think the idea of a new search engine was really the egg to the blockchain technology. I think that as these new search engines started coming out and competing with Google, which was the internet and still is 95% of the internet.
Well, dude, it started off sketchy, man. Like blockchain, Bitcoin and like blockchain really started like Silk Road. Like, that was kind of like
Wolf of Wall Street type stuff.
Well, it's like Silk Road was like where you could buy drugs with Bitcoin.
That's true.
Bro, that's like where it started.
The dark web.
And that's it. There's obviously like a lore and an exaggeration to it. Like there's some conspiracy that like is interesting, but ultimately like the Silk Road was real, and you could go on to Tor, which was a browser, and you could buy whatever drug you wanted
or other horrible things.
And see, that's where the conspiracy is. Like some of that stuff, I don't know if I believe. Like I don't know if I don't know if I believe that you could buy like.
I believe it was there, and I also believe it. No, I have a space, and when I say I believe something, it's like I think this is a percentage of probability, not like I believe.
Dude, right? Like there were probably hitmen like on it, but like there's some proof that like red rooms didn't exist, which I don't know if you know what that is, but like there's some pretty interesting stuff that like that.
I think the CIA has put a lot of stuff in places and is actively on a brainwashing program. I do think that. I think that there is some manipulation on the individual level that is, and I'm not sure the extent to it, but it's enough to create enough paranoia where like we need to get away from these centralized systems that are manipulating us. Like we need to take control of our media. We need to take control of our community. We need to take control of our own lives. And there's a couple things that entails. Like humans need to live human lives. We need to grow food. We need to talk to one another. We need to do art or hobbies. I mean, every hobby, even a sport, is an art form. So anyone who says that they're an athlete, well, they're just an artist of body mechanics.
Right.
And they perfected an art form. And then like that's what humans, they need to dial in their focus. And we've become so ADD oriented, and we've underdeveloped the prefrontal cortex of so many people that we're disconnected from our mind, body, and spirit. And that's kind of like getting into the spiritual side of like Grow My Community is it's like we got to start being human again before we lose our humanity, and we no longer are a race altogether. And we can't put these, these condensed forms of humanity to have a color in front of the name, to have a gender in front. It's like, no, we're human, and we have communities that we're involved with and philosophies that we live by.
Yeah.
And we need a system to help us orient ourselves so we're in the proper communities that we're supposed to be in, and that we can have a better quality of life rather than this melting pot of oil and water that just continues to fight itself because the foundation is boiling. The foundation isn't solid. And so like we need a new foundation of community, of how we spend our time, where we spend our time, who we spend our time, money, conversations with. Some people are children and they need parents. Even if they're adults, like they're still children in the mind. And I realize this at the hospitals. A lot of people just can't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They keep coming back to the hospital with the same problems. And whether the doctor's not being honest, the nurse isn't being honest, or there's something else going on, like there's a lot of manipulation from these public systems that aren't on the professional themselves. Because if you go to these doctors, they are knowledgeable, they do know their stuff, but they're manipulated by the education system. They're manipulated by the economic system. And so it's inherent. They're focused on fixing these individual problems, thinking that these symptoms will make you better, or relieving these symptoms will make you better, but that's not the case. People need a new lifestyle. They need to get out of that relationship that they're in, or they need to invest more into that relationship. And maybe that it's a two-way street, and both people need to give more and it'll work. But instead it's like, no, we're going to give you some meds to deal with your depression. It's like, no. That depression is a signal. It's a sign. It's a metaphor to something else is wrong, or it's a medicine. Anxiety can be a tool. And Jordan Peterson talks about that. It's a mechanism to overcome and to become confident, and it's a sin in the way that it misdirects you. But if you can hold true to that, authenticity, and you can remain confident and you can breathe through that, you become a stronger person.
Yeah,
you become that hero. And then you climb, just as lobsters, either develop a stronger fin to swim away or develop stronger arms to fight. It's like that's who you become.
Yeah.
And we've become so obsessed in trying to make life easier one app at a time that we've made this mess. And we're just swimming around in this mess of mainstream media, mainstream music, that is desensitizing us, making us less human, making us less connected. And you can't have these deep conversations on a two-dimensional mechanism such as a screen. We need real interactions. Augmented, virtual can have its place, but there's muscles in the brain that form from communicating, from putting yourself outside your comfort zone. And I think that those pathways, as they develop, you're going to see happier people getting to live more fulfilled lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, man, like as someone who has struggled with mental health my entire life.
Same.
I mean, yeah, and like, mine was and still is, but I I've learned to manage it, and I've learned what it is. But man, as someone who like, dude, I couldn't like sleep in my bed until I was like 13. 'Cause I'd wake up with panic attacks and think that like something was wrong. And like anxiety is a really interesting thing, man, because you're right. Like the nature, from what I've learned, and there's a lot more to this. I am not an expert in this. Like so
even experts don't know a lot.
But,
and that's
well, no, I think
people
that's
have
the
to
definition
realize.
of an expert. But like
That's
dude,
fair.
first, yeah, like no, like
That's
yeah,
fair.
like I think, man, like I always feel obligated, and I know like I haven't been involved in the medical industry, but like I always have to say before I talk about my journey and my mental health, like don't take talk to a professional, get help, do your own research. My journey is mine, and I'm still on it, and my opinion will change.
Right.
But like, dude, like you said something that I agree with the anxiety thing, man, of like the nature that I have found behind anxiety is it's our like natural instinct for danger. It's like, you know, if you're ever like walking in the woods and you hear a stick break, it's like back 100 years ago when we were surrounded by bears and stuff. Like that was like your jerk reaction to like, is something there? What do I need to do to make sure I'm safe and that I can protect myself or get away? And it's that fight or flight thing. And like mine as a kid, my chemical imbalance, dude, was just awful. Like, dude, and I still struggle with it, man. Like I still get panic attacks sometime. Like I had a journey, dude. And you know, I have experienced some real serious depression, dude, like, you know, bad stuff. And man, like I agree that like our human existence and our human experience has to change, but I think that also, man, like
it needs to be smarter.
But there's
we need
stuff
a smarter
that, like,
system.
But we need a smarter system. But there are smart systems that exist, and there are places that you can get help. And
Right.
and as we talk about stuff being decentralized, I think that there are things that need to be centralized. There are things like, dude, I am not an anarchist. Like my goal is not. I believe in regulation. I believe in standards and practices. Like I believe that there has to be rules.
Yeah.
And dude, like I think that we are, as a human race, working towards an ultimate good. I think that there's bad apples, but ultimately, man, like, and here's the thing. I think that I don't believe though in like, if there's a bad apple, you address it.
Yeah.
I don't think that you make the excuse of, oh, that's an outlier. You don't worry about that. No. We address the bad apple and we handle that. But we don't create that as the majority, man. I just think, dude, like,
yeah, but that's what you get with Web 2 is if it doesn't matter what the true quality or value of like a piece of content, if it gets attention, if it interacts with that prefrontal cortex, then it's going to get the views, and it's going to have its own like fake value that's not really backed. And it's kind of like where a lot of crypto is kind of like fake money. Like it's just,
bro, I think,
you know,
dude, I don't even like crypto, honestly. Like, dude, I am not a crypto guy. Like,
yeah.
I don't like it. I do like it. I like
you have a utility for it, and you've learned enough about it.
I like
where
the
you
utility, but I don't like I'm not a day trader, dude. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Because I think there's a bigger picture that's more important. But man,
I agree.
I just think, dude, with Web3, man, just to kind of like, you know, put the bow on it, is it is a new resource, utility, an opportunity to create a system and an ownership community, an ownership system that is focused on quality over quantity. And when the quantity does come into play, there will be enough quality that you'll know what is good and what's bad, hopefully. And I hope that's the case. I think that our cultures and our belief systems are going to become far more inclusive, hopefully, in the future. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited, dude. And like, I want to, you know, I think Like, it's funny, man. Like, I want to, I just haven't found the right time. And honestly, this doesn't feel like the right time yet. But like, I'm excited to tell my personal story one day, dude, because it's crazy. Like,
well, your story's ever evolving,
but like,
so it only gets crazier.
Yeah, but like the last like decade has been like, dude, like from.
Well, I'll come on your show.
Yeah,
and we'll talk more personal stories because I've got a pretty wild story in and of itself, and I think that, you know, it's the full story. I have a problem with Web 2 because there's the section of like the cancel culture that's.
But that's not Web 2, man. I think that's just our culture. Like, I just
think that's just a cultural
bro,
thing.
That's just what we're doing right now. Like, I think and I think it's fizzing out. Like, dude, I think that people are like, nah, I don't think we should ruin people's lives and ability to make money because of something they said. Like, obviously, dude, if like you commit a crime that is like
a crime against humanity, there's something to be said there.
If you do something that harms someone, there are consequences and you will pay them.
Right.
But if you say something that people don't agree with, like, bro, I think one of the beautiful things is like we have the right to offend each other. Like, you have the right to offend me. And it's my decision on if that offends me, and it's my freedom on what I do with that. But
that's as far as it should go.
Yeah, man.
And I think having a smarter internet that allows for more niche and purposeful conversations to occur. And I think that purpose dials back into location. You know, I think that if we put as much time into local politics and our local neighborhoods, and, you know, imagine how many articles people have read on federal matters that they really don't have any say in. It doesn't really matter who they vote for. The Republicans, Democrats will come to the same conclusions. Meanwhile, there's trash in their front yard next to the street.
And that's why, dude, your mission is very, like, I understand your mission. I understand grow my community. And I really challenge you to, because I can help you, but bro, the best thing I can tell you to do seriously, it's what I did. And it's the only reason
so where to go? Where do we learn? So we can check out you're doing great stuff on your channel.
Yeah. You can, and so, but before I get into where to go, man, like, this is what I'll tell you to do. And it might not take you 6 months, so don't take this number literally, but I would take 6 months, and I'll give you the resources. Like, I'll tell you what to look up.
Yeah, please do.
And this is what I'd recommend to everybody is take the time before you get involved to be an audience member and to learn and to understand, because don't buy an NFT until you understand it, because you will lose money. I've lost money, dude. I
lost money minting one, and I just didn't really know.
Bro, I lost a ton of money in crypto because I was on a website that you could buy crypto on, and I bought a coin that I wanted to put in my Coinbase, and I tried to just take that coin that doesn't exist on Coinbase from this site I was on and put it in my MetaMask crypto wallet. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that I had to change that token into an Ethereum token and then change that into USDT and then blah, blah, blah. And bro, I mean, I lost. Like, it's funny is I can find the contract on Etherscan, and like my sum of money is sitting literally in the ether. And I can't touch it, dude. And like, that's where a lot of advancements are going to come into play, where like recovery, but like we're so new to this that like there's not a system set in place right now where if you lose your money, you can get it back. And if there are, but like, take the time, and Ultralight is a great resource, obviously, to learn. But there's a lot more that are that have been here a lot longer than I have, and that provide you with everything you need to know about what a cryptocurrency is.
Are these going to be YouTube channels, websites, actual platforms?
All of the above, dude. Like websites,
just for the audience. Is there any like? So we know there's your channel. Just so that way, as people watch this, they're able to go from here.
Well, here, how about this? What's this gonna be on YouTube?
It'll be on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify.
We'll put links in the description for everything that we've talked about and places for you to find. So, yeah. Take the and I'm telling you this because I think that Grow My Community can be big, but it can't be big if you don't take the time to research it.
Well, I need help. And that's something that like I've been, me and Susan we built out our
Susan's your wife.
Susan's my wife.
Who's about to have a baby. I got a text.
She could pop.
I got a text before I came up here. It was a couple days ago, and you're like, I was like, so Saturday at whatever time, and you were like, yes. But if Susan goes into labor, then we're not going to do that. And I was like, that's super exciting. And so y'all are about to have another baby, dude.
We are.
You're about to have a baby.
I know. I'm so excited.
Oh, man.
We've got, Cooper, our 9-year-old. He moved in with us full time 2 years ago. And I mean, like, getting to just change my lifestyle. I was working at the hospital while he was here over the past year and a half. And it was really tough because I wasn't present.
Yeah.
And so I changed my career path to being something that, I can have weekends off with him.
Yeah.
I can wake him up in the morning.
Yeah.
I can put him to bed every night.
It's beautiful.
And like, that is valuable. And too often, people try to go make an extra $15 an hour, but they sell their soul. They sell their life.
Their time,
their energy, their attention. And it ruins their life. And it's like, if we could, and I work with, my company's a small company that I work with doing HVAC work. And like, it really drives home that community feel of we need to start investing into communities. Like we need to stop trying to like make the most money and invest where we're at. Stop trying to be so selfish and make an extra, screw you. It's my time, my money. It's like, yeah, but is it really worth it? Like what about you actually making friends with the place that you work at instead of it just being so fake and everyone's just here to make money and go home? What if like every moment you spent was with someone that you wanted to be with, that you got to like bring something home with you? You had a human connection with
it's tough, dude.
that gave back to you in your spirit. And it was just an economic state of mutual usury, which I use that word a lot because it really came up in my political ideologies class at KSU, and it really drove home this consumer-based economy that we live in of not caring about anything else. And
Which I
happiness
think
is worth
bit of
so
a
much
blanket
more.
statement, though. I think that's where like and again like it's that
Optimism,
like, bro. I
love it.
cannot.
I love it. I need this in my life.
I cannot get away from it, dude. Like it is something that I'm convicted about. Dude.
Yeah.
And like another thing is like, so I think in order to be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to be delusionally optimistic.
I think that's true.
I can't even like compute like pessimism. So like I can compute reality. Like
Yeah.
like I think that some of the stuff you're talking about is important and is very interesting, but like we're not going to ever live in utopia. It will never happen. And dude,
right.
there are people who work jobs that they have to provide for their family, and they're not going to like everyone they work with, and like that's just what it is. And that won't ever change. But like you're right about if we can educate on like practices on how to manage your mindset, practices on the how valuable your time with your family is. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, I think that, man, like your kid just being here and you being available and present is like
huge difference,
bro. That investment in your kid is going to pay dividends, and not financially, but in his future. Mm-hmm. And your baby that's coming, man. Like your time invested in Cooper is going to look beautiful in 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, man. When we're 90 and in the metaverse. Well,
and that's where it just we really need to, and I've carried more of a cynical outlook through time, and I think some of that is because I have a limitation on how delusionally optimistic I allow myself to be because of my mental health history.
Yeah.
So, I have to eat more reality and ground myself in more realism than grandiosity. Two, because of my narrative, my story.
Right.
And because of the real truth that, I can't just take that risk of being hungry because I have a family that would also starve.
I have zero responsibilities.
And
dude, I don't have
But that you have been responsible enough to not put yourself in that situation to have those boundaries.
I've gotten lucky, man.
So you have endless opportunity to allow that grandiosity to be a part of
it's all
your
selfish,
vision,
dude. Like I have been privileged to be able to be selfishly delusionally optimistic because like I don't have to take care of anyone other than myself.
Yeah.
I don't have a dog. I
Yeah.
just have myself and ultralight.
And that's
And it's a
so,
blessing.
but well, there's this level of capacity in that you have been able to model and develop your best self before taking a step into a different life, you know, to that family life that is, you moved into it too young, you made all these mistakes.
I'll be honest,
and
though,
you've
I'm
created
jealous, dude.
cascading effect.
I'm jealous of like, dude, like I just became an uncle and thanks, man. And like I've never experienced love like that. Like I've never, because like I met this baby and I was like, oh, I'll do anything. Like, dude, I love her so much, and she hasn't done anything to earn that love other than exist. And dude, like
adoration,
bro, I am jealous of like my friends because now we're, you know, I'm entering in 2 months.
Coming up on your 20s or your 30s,
bro. In 2 months, I'll have my final year of my 20s. I'll be 29. And like, dude, like I have so many friends now that are having children and that are married, and like I'm single. I have no, and like, but like there is a part of me that like, look, I know that will come in my life,
right?
But my story is just different, and I am looking forward to it now. Like I used to like dread the idea of like having a family, but dude, I am very excited.
Well, and you're lucky enough to have friends who've modeled a good life, you know.
Some of them.
And you know, like I had friends whose parents were great models for me that I didn't see at home. My parents were great models in other ways that I didn't see in other kids. And so like, you know, as we live our life, it's a continual story. It's progression, and it should be building on itself. And that's what Web3 does, is it builds on itself. It's truly,
that's a great way to
continuing to use the foundation is solid enough to continue to build on. And the foundation of Web 2, Web 1 was very unstable, had a lot of room for manipulation and maniacal efforts to be.
Bro, it was like a season 1 TV show that didn't expect to go viral, and now the writers are like, what are we gonna do for season 2? Like, what's season 2 gonna be? And like, but you know, we've now had the show like, bro, we've had the show now on air long enough where we're like, okay,
we know our roles.
Let's get back into the writers' room and let's rewrite this show and make it what we need to. So yeah, bro, dude, and thank you so much, man, for opening your platform to me. Thank you for having me on. And thank you for inviting me into your house. And I couldn't be more grateful, and I'm excited to help you guys like figure out the direction in Web3 for you. And yeah, can I go ahead and plug my stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. Where you at?
So if you guys want to go follow me on Instagram and TikTok at ultralight.tv, and on YouTube at ultralight, just type in ultralight in the search bar, you'll find me. But most importantly right now, where everything is happening for me, what social media platform in Web 2 that I'm on all the time, that you can see every move I'm making and every person that I'm involved with, is on Twitter, which is at ultralight_TV. Go follow me on Twitter at ultralight_TV. I'm going to say it one more time because that's where like, that's the Web 2 platform that all of this is unfolding on. Yeah.
Because I know Joey's big on Twitter.
And then I am
with Theta.
I am getting on Theta. So
you're moving on Theta? Okay, cool.
I'm not moving on Theta, but I will be on Theta, and my existence there, I'll talk about it more as it unfolds, but it's going to be interesting what I do on Theta. So yeah, cool. Man. So thank you, dude.
Thanks for coming, man. Bro. I mean, this is first of many. It's cool that we grew up so close, went to the same school, and are kind of in a similar space and have been. I know I've modeled and really appreciated your work and looked up to what you've produced through the years. It's definitely been a motivating factor and inspirational. So it's I think like looking for people who you look up to, who you respect, and then being a good person, being nice, reaching out, you know,
and being
like
honest and authentic, dude. Like, yeah, I appreciate you working with me about timing and stuff. And dude, I mean, I you know, shout out to you. And I said this to you off camera, but one thing that you deserve your flowers for is that, like, bro, you haven't quit, and you have pivoted where you need to, and you've adapted. And I think that's what it takes to be successful. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see where you go. Like, I think that you're going to be successful in this as long as you don't stop.
I mean, I'm a slow rolling train.
Bro, and that train will get to its destination, man.
Yeah.
Like,
no train wreck around here.
No, bro. This town, man, bro. I can't tell you how many trains I've been stuck at, but man, like that train will always get there, and dude, just know like I'm paying attention, and
Thanks.
there are a lot of people watching, and we're rooting for you, and we want to see you win. And if as long as you stay a little delusionally optimistic, you'll win. Dude.
I could work on that. And I mean, art helps. And I draw, and that's kind of like the foundation for one of my NFT projects I want to do is have a whole series of drawings and articles written about each type of plant, have a whole nomenclature independent series. And I started an anatomy series. But I've drawn up a series of plants and then a series of animals to kind of to build a blockchain of information that needs to be recorded, that should be public. Like we need more information and more accessible information.
And I'm excited to see you build that out. I think that, we're looking at like a year. I think so. I wouldn't expect you. I wouldn't recommend that you put anything out this year. And as far as NFT,
no, that's good. That's good. That's good direction because I dropped one of my NFTs on OpenSea, and I was kind of a little pessimistic about it because I was like, I really want to do this project, but like I don't really know where to start. And this is where like I reached out. I was like, hey man, I need some help. I want you to come on and talk about this because one thing with artificial cities is designing smart systems, moving into the Web3 space, using AI, using smart contracts as a way to build our lives better. Well, so I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah,
we're right on time. We're exactly where we're supposed to be. That's one thing I learned in chiropractic school is you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Don't wish to be
right here, man. Wherever you are, be there.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Bro.
Presence,
bro. Absolutely. So I'm glad we reconnected, which we've been connected, but bro, just keep it going, man.
No, I'm glad I saw you at the phone store.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was it.
Yeah, I got this phone. All right, brother. Well, thank you, man.
Much love, guys. Take care, and until the next one. See you.
Peace.